Hi, everyone. Welcome to our third live session of the Social Entrepreneurship for Innovation in Health course. It's a pleasure for me to share with you that we have participants coming from around 50 countries from all over the world. So I would really love to encourage you to keep taking advantage of this diversity and connecting with your peers. If you are watching us live right now, please also scroll down and click yes to the survey that you're watching live so that you can receive your extra points. And today is the last day of module 3 of week 3 of the course. And in this module, we are addressing the strategies for advancing the social innovation within your institution. And in that sense, we have learned about lean startup models, about business model canvas, and how to create conditions for social entrepreneurs to thrive. To discuss some of these topics and to learn more about the work, we have here with us Dr. Christian NTZIMIRA to share his personal and professional experience. Thank you so much, Dr. Christian, for being here with us today.
Thank you, Natalie, for having me here.
Wonderful. I'm going to read a little bit about your profile, Dr. Christian, so the participants can be a little bit aware of that. Dr. Christian NTZIMIRA is the founder and executive director of African Center for Research on End-of-Life Care, based in Kigali, Rwanda, which works to advance palliative and end-of-life care that reflects African cultural realities. He has trained hundreds of health professionals and introduced a framework that integrates traditional African values and metaphors into medical care, reframing death as a natural part of life journey rather than a failure of medicine. His approach promotes community-based caregiving, spiritual connection, and the dignity of patients and families. Dr. NTZIMIRA has been recently recognized as an Ashoka Fellow. Congratulations for that recognition, Dr. Christian.
Thank you, Natalie.
Wonderful. So to begin, I would love to hear how it all started. How did you become interested in working in palliative care and end-of-life care, which is such an important topic, but it's not something that we all feel drawn since the very beginning? And also, how did you get to be at the create the African Center for End-of-Life Care?
Thank you, Natalie, for having me. It's a really pleasure to be here. In the beginning, my dream was not to be a physician. Actually, my dream was after the genocide against the Tutsi, my dream was to be a pilot, a commercial pilot. So then I spoke with my parent and say, I want to be a pilot, and this is my dream since I was a kid. So, and I think I don't want to go to any option, but just to be a pilot. So my parents told me, Christian, you know that our situation, our business is really down after the genocide against Tutsi. So can you go to the medical school in the University of Rwanda? So then after 1 year, we will send you to the flying school, maybe in Kenya or Uganda. So until now, I'm still waiting for that. So, so then I went to medical school, and it was a different journey because I have to shift from that dream. And then I just realized becoming a surgeon after medical school will be during the residence program will be the best way to contribute in post-genocide society, but also how building a sense of humanity. I was thinking on that way. Then after medical school, normally we have to spend 2 or 3 years or 4 years, depending your time at the district sent by the government. And it was during that time, then when I met a young guy, 24 years old, diagnosis with advanced stage of liver cancer, what normally we call hepatocellular carcinoma. And it was really dying in pain, physical pain. I was familiar with physical pain because I was working on a surgery department, but his pain was mixed with suffering, which I've never experienced before. And the sad story, his mom came to me and kneeled before me because the suffering was too much to bear. And she was asking if I can give something to him so he can sleep and wake up no more. In
Mm.
other words, she was asking for death. And I have a feeling, I had a feeling of failure. One, as a physician, because I couldn't prescribe morphine that time, which is a strong opioid for severe pain. I was feared to prescribe morphine because I said if morphine has an death and more, and after the prescription, maybe I'll go to the prison if the patient die. Uh, so I failed as a physician because I suppose what she was requested was something I supposed to do.
Mhm.
And also I felt as a Rwandan because in our culture, when you see elder person kneeled before a young person, culturally, you felt. So then I questioned myself, why I spent so many years in medical school if just my role now is just witnesses people who are dying. What is the reason wearing a lab coat and a stethoscope, a white lab coat and a stethoscope, walking on the corridor
Mm.
to support a patient and to support also and the family. So then I'm fine that my medical practice was soulless, and there is something need to be done. And I didn't know about palliative care at that time. So I just realized there is a gap between what we are doing and what it is the need of the patient. So I had a chance to go to the palliative care training, and after the training, I shift from my dream to be a surgeon to a new passion, palliative care. So, and from there, I was looking for how to support the patient, how to support the family. So I had a chance to travel in the US, doing some fellowship there in palliative care, and also a master's program in global health and social medicine, which brought this aspect of medical anthropology. And it's that time and my mentor at that time was the later Paul Farmer and Arthur Clayman. Then I just realized that maybe we need to rethink the way we are providing palliative care, because mostly when people mentioning about palliative care, they think about death. It's in that context, then Acreol came as a response to the need and better understand that when we mention about palliative care, it's not about death, but mostly it's about life
Mhm.
until the end.
I love that. Life until the end. And also just to be able to, if all of us are able to confront death and see that we are all going to die, it would allow us to live more fully. Um,
Yes, exactly.
Thank you for sharing your story. And I actually have a question related to what you have just been saying. So I'm just going to bring it up. Milton Forst from Brazil says, Dr. Christian NTZIMIRA, working with palliative care is challenging. Some people might think that it will accelerate the process of death. How do you work with the prejudice related to this field of knowledge, and how do you adapt it to every local cultural aspect? He's from
I
Brazil.
think I say thank you. I think the challenge is everywhere. I think when I wake up in the morning, it's a challenge to drive your car. There is traffic every morning. It's a challenge when price go up and down. It's a challenging every day. So it's not about the challenge actually. It's how we address those challenging, how we from those challenging, how we find solutions. And this is also we come from the perspective of palliative care, when people were thinking about end of life care. So how are you using this prism of seeing on that lens, think just palliative care as end of life care? Can you see palliative care as life until the end? Why can you just focus on life instead of death? And I just realized on that sense, if I'm digging part of our humanity, our part of our tradition, then I just realized there is some of the solutions. Because traditional palliative care existed before modern palliative care existed.
Mm,
So how can you dig from that, from our tradition, our social culture perspective, our culture, and see some of the solution could be first adopt before to be adapted. So
mm,
it's not about how we adapt, it's how we adopt first and then we adapt it to the current challenge. Begin by adopting the local perception of care before to adapting to the current challenges. Let me give you an example. When I was in the US, I've learned about the patient autonomy. I didn't know that patient has to take decision for everything. But when I came back in Rwanda, I just realized patient autonomy may not be understood the same way as it's understood in US. So I came with this from my research on this statement that when you are well, you belong to yourself. And when you are sick, you belong to your family. So it's not only about the patient autonomy, it's also about the community responsibility. It's the intersection between both which help us, physician and the family, for this decision-making process. So that we have a room to adopt and adapt from the current challenge and bring opportunities. And this is what I'm really warning and I'm working with. And the good thing is we can navigate between tradition and modernity to find what is really matter for the patient and the families. And this is, I think, my strategy. Instead of just focusing to the challenges, because the challenges could be everywhere, but how can you from the challenges get an opportunities? And another examples, and when I was starting palliative care, it was not out of the hospital. I was studying the palliative actually in the hospital, and the hospital, it's a public institution, it's a governmental institution. So I was using the existing law, the existing policies from the public institution to say, oh, now there is some existing policy. Let me check for reading after all policies, what will be the best way palliative care will be integrated in the public hospitals. And the hospital were very recognized as a palliative care services and that's time, and we received so many patients, and we were able to even to using morphine. I think our hospital was the first public institution using morphine out of the operating room for patients who really suffer from severe pain. So there is always an opportunity to bring change. It could be in the institution, public or private, even out of the public and private as well.
yeah, that's so important and so true. There's always a space for creating innovation and change, and that's why we
Exactly.
this course on and trying to bring people like you that can explain their own personal experience working from within the hospital and also having your own organization now um,
Yeah.
as an independent social entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, thank you. I have so many questions from the audience. The people are really, really interested in work. And one is related to the resistance that you might have or might not have faced when changing and transforming internally the health systems. So the Armand Bania from the UK, I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, says, Dr. NTZIMIRA, your model beautifully illustrates how cultural grounding and system integration can redefine care delivery. Drawing from the principles of entrepreneurship that we have been exploring in this course, such as creating internal ecosystems, building cross-sector partnerships, and transforming organizational culture, I want to know, how have you navigated resistance within your established health system to embed such a deeply values-driven and community-rooted model? I love that question.
By yes, by engaging or re-engaging the community. So
Mm,
I moved from the philosophy of the Cartesian philosophy, I think, therefore I am, to the Ubuntu philosophy, I am because you are. I am because we are.
I love this.
Let's
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's a paradigm shift on the philosophy. So you'll get resistance for everything. For any change you want to bring, will get resistance. But you need also to find a philosophy. And how to get solution is just a paradigm shift of the which kind of philosophy are you driving? Because sometimes people want to bring change and want to say, oh, I'm the one, I'm the visionary, I'm the one who bring that, I'm the one who created this one, I'm the one who innovated, which is totally different from my philosophy. My philosophy, I can't say I'm the one who brought that. It came from the community. It's the community who brought, the change. It's the community who changed completely. And one of the example is, I remember family meeting was not set in our hospital. Mostly we talk with one or two people. Then my idea was, why cannot set a family meeting in the hospital? Of course, when I ask my colleague and say, can we set up family meetings? My colleague said, no, 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 don't bring family in the hospital. They are too complicated. It will be worse. And I say, well, yeah, but who feed the patient? It's family. Who pay the bills? It's family. Who taking care on psychosocial and spiritual? It's the family. So why we can't bring them out of hospital? So I keep pushing that, and the former director at that time say, yes, we can start the family meeting, but if it if you fail, it will be your responsibility, of course. So then I called the first family meeting, but I didn't realize in African context, when you call a family meeting, it's not about one or two people. It's about 10, 15 people. And I remember one the meeting I had last time, it was 60 people in the room, 60 people attending the meeting. And then I just realized my role is not to define what family means to the patient or the family. It's up to them. My role is to increase communication and talk to them. So then bringing 15, 20, 30 people, 50 people, and 60 people, talking about palliative care, talking about the decision making, patient autonomy, community responsibility, both. And then at the end of the day, you will see the community when they go back to their village, they will talking about palliative care. And especially when I'm focusing about life, because I will not mentioning about death. And in Ubuntu philosophy, death is part of life.
Mm.
Death is part of life. So there is no dichotomy between death and life, which came from a very Cartesian philosophy. But in Ubuntu philosophy, death is part of life. So I don't mention about death. I just mention about life until the end. And what the end means for the patient and families, it's up to them, depending to their belief, depending to their tradition, depending to their philosophy. It's up to them, but it's life until the end. So that was one of the strategy. The strategy is not about me who brought that concept. It's about the community themselves. They brought the change. So if it came from the community, I don't think who will change that, who will resist against the community, because the community always will be on power to bring the change, especially to focus on the quality of life of their patients and including also the family as well.
Yeah. So it's working with together with them, not co-creating. So just to have it clear, you communicate to the families, or you co-create the caregiving plan with them too.
Yes, it's both about that because when I'm inviting the family, this is why I think I told you last time about the book I published about the safari concept. I hope the participant will get the link because the book is available on Amazon. It's the book talking about when you have like 30, 40 people in the room. So my role was to identify who is the lion or the lioness in the group, the most influential person in the group. And then I found the most influential person. It's really interesting because I can have another conversation with that person about what do you think we can go next after this meeting? Because the patient mentioned about A, B, C, D, you mentioned about C, D, E, F. So we need to have an interaction between A, B, C, D, and E, D, E, F. Then we can have a consensus because we need to think we need to keep on our mind that we need the quality of life of our patient. So, and then the community is not only part of the change, but they are the one who've been proposing. Let me give you an example. Mostly when we're starting to discuss with the family members, the first thing is don't tell our patients about the diagnosis.
Mm.
Don't tell our patients. So then I tell the family, I will not negotiate to not tell the patient,
Mm.
but I will negotiate how we will tell the patient. So I will give you three options. One, either you go yourself to tell the patient because you know better the patient as I know better the disease, or we can go together and tell the patient, or I can go myself. So which options
Mm.
work for you? So I took part of my how can I say my kind of responsibility and task and shift it to the community and say, what do you decide? What is the option work for you to tell the patient? You know, and what do you decide about it? And mostly because the majority of the family members I'm working with, they say, okay, we will go and tell the patient. They will decide themselves to tell the patient because they know exactly which of the language. And if the mostly because they doing that, so I have my afternoon to go and go to the swimming pool, playing golf, going reading and doing my stuff. And then I can come back the next day and double check again with the patients if all the information received was really clear and if the patient has no additional information. So you will see that the community is not only the listener, but they are mostly active changer, active decision maker, part of this process. And at that point, you'll not get resistance. So you get resistance when you think it's yourself, you have to take this for everything. When you don't engage or engage the community to be part of the change. So of course, sometimes you will adapt without adopting. And of course, it will bring a sense of unnecessary conflict with them.
Right. But at the beginning, you did have to insist for the health system to allow you to have all the community members.
Exactly.
And it was more
It
about,
it was it was a long negotiation, of course, because that's time to have like 15, 20 people and the 30 people in the room was, I mean, even the infrastructure was not even prepared for that. And I remember even during the COVID-19, we had one of the meeting I remember was in the parking of the hospital and under the tree. So we were there and then sitting with the 20 people. It's how we adapt. And for that, I have to make sure that I brought my idea to the institution. Of course, people in the institution will say, "Oh no, this is don't bring family here. We are not familiar with that." But we can continue to negotiate and say, actually, this is a good idea because if we do that, we reduce the bed occupancy rate. We will reduce the distress, the psychological distress of the patient. Those are the benefit for having the family in the hospital. Even when we discharge the patient will be able to go home. So when the institution will understand what are actually the benefits of having some of your ideas, of course they will buy in because they want also some good idea and interested, which will make the institution to be very successful.
Absolutely. And in that sense, it's about finding what is that the institution mission is and aligning it with your initiative
Exactly.
and being able to
Exactly.
sell it, to share the benefit
Yes.
with the
Exactly.
institution. And what you were saying, not taking a no for an answer, right?
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
keep going, insisting, negotiating. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, maybe the director could be on a very had the bad days. So maybe wait after a few weeks and come back on different perspective. And especially at the hospital, one of the issue we had was even patient was discharged, the family said no because the family say no, 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 it's our patient. The patient will not move the from the hospital. So that was something very really important I brought and say, you know what, actually, if we not negotiate with the family and discuss with them, our bed occupancy rate will go up, and that will be, an issue in the hospital. But if we have more family, and will reduce the bed occupancy, and we'll have more space for other patients. And this is something, the language your institution want to hear. Because sometimes people come and say, oh, I have just a good idea. It's very innovative. It could be seen as a threat if you are not adapting and adopting your language according to the institutions. So, and you can have a good idea that is really important and really good, but if that idea is not translated in the language of your institution, automatically you'll fail because nobody will buy in.
Absolutely. We're actually going to be studying a little bit more about how to pitch our ideas, our innovative ideas in the next few modules, and actually module 5.
Okay,
But it's absolutely also storytelling, communicating, all of those tools,
exactly.
design, if you're going to be doing a presentation, how do you communicate and how you share your innovative idea? And also if you can actually are able to do a pilot, that's great because you can actually show results too, so that you can sell better and get the buy-in.
Yeah.
And now I have another question that is a little bit more about how do you create a team that supports the work that you're doing and that actually is successful in creating bigger and better social impact. I know you have a team of people that are working now at the African Center. So would you like to share with us your experience creating teams? Antonio, I think you might have frozen. Oh, we lost Dr. Christian NTZIMIRA right now. We're gonna wait for a minute or two to see if he can come back to join us. It was a very interesting conversation about the end of life care and how it's not about focusing on death, but actually on life until the end. And we were talking about how to deal with resistance in healthcare systems that are pretty well established. And he was sharing with us his experience, being able to have a good innovative idea, not giving up, insisting, being able to communicate it properly, to get the buy-in of the leadership so that you can start creating change little by little. And let's see, let's wait for 1 minute. Thank you everybody for your patience. And maybe just a reminder while we're waiting to please scroll down and click yes to the survey that we're watching live to get your extra points. And also please keep being active in the discussion forums. We have been really enjoying reading your comments. And this is a great opportunity for you to connect with other peers from other countries or your same country. We also encourage you to connect through social media, through LinkedIn, for example, just to remain in touch. I think we have back Dr. Christian NTZIMIRA. We lost
Sorry
you.
for that. We have a shortage of power, so it's
I'm glad
something
you're
happened.
I'm
Sorry.
glad you're back. That's all what matters. And I
Yeah.
got to hear my question, but I was asking you about your experience creating teams, creating a team of people working together with you. We've been talking about like the importance of involving the community for the care of the patient, and it's not about you. So it's all about like working with other people. So I was curious about your experience creating a team that can really create more social impact. Who do you select? How do you do the selection process? Yeah, just if you want to share a little bit about that.
My experience is the first time when I went after the story of the young guy, I went to the palliative care training. It was organized by the Ministry of Health for 10 days. And I was expecting to learn about the suffering and the need of the patient and family members. And curiously, it was not about their suffering, it was about my own suffering. I just realized it was about my own suffering. I just discovered I had a lot of psychological distress working, in the district because you have so many patients to treat. You have outpatient consultation between maybe 10, 15, sometimes 20 people. You have a night shift. Sometimes it can be too long. And during that training, I just realized it was not about them
Mm.
to create an efficient team was first to understand about your own suffering. So, and I have to use 3 steps. One, it's about self-love, self-forgiveness, and self-reconciliation. So the intersection of the three, it's what I call Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is I am because you are. And that for me was the beginning of setting a team. Why I'm saying that? Because sometimes you can have a good idea, but if you didn't work on yourself, on some of the suffering, on those darkest zone may become a challenge. Because every time when you have a young person or someone else say something or build something better than you, either you'll be jealous, either you'll take that person as a threat. But if you'll be part of that intersection of those 3 cycles. So any success will be your success. Any improvement, every profile you'll find a way to work with your team on a very constructive way. So you will avoid completely that spirit that your success is my failure, which is mostly come from when leaders feel insecure. When you work with sometimes part of my team, there is people who are more smarter than me, and you know, all the time that the one who bring new ideas, the one who are very innovative, and that are very brilliant people. And if you if you didn't work on your own suffering, so you'll be insecure. And when you'll become insecure, you will see them as a threat. And despite all people will be surrounding you, bright, clever, smart, uh, um, I mean, you'll find them as a threat, and that will not work. So my good advice is first work on your sufferings, and then you'll be able to build a strong team, because if you'll not focus on your insecurity, you will focus on the opportunity working with them. And everyone can work at different level. There are some people who work at 10%, that those you will need them at 10%, others will need them at 20%, and 50%, 60%, 7%, and 100%, according to their profiles. So we'll not ask someone from 10% to work at their 100%, or the 100% to work at 10%, because we already have the whole picture. So that is my own experiences on that.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I really appreciate you bringing up such an important topic as of own self-work and self-development, because it really is true that that's where everything comes from ultimately. And I also appreciate what you were saying about like not asking for people from people more than they are capable of, basically.
Exactly, exactly.
Very clear of like this is what they're capable of giving, these are their skills, these are the qualities, these are the energy that they can put on their motivation, and that's what we receive and accept, and that's when you choose, right? This is what I want to work, and this person is going to give this person is going to give that.
Yeah, because for you it will be 10%, but for that person it will be 100%
Yes.
working with you. And when you're learning from you, and maybe will shift to another job or another opportunity, and then maybe from your experiences it will increase from 10 to 20, because came from your how you impact that person in your leadership to move from 10 to 20, instead of just pushing that person to go to another level, which may not fit on the whole picture of your team. And that creates frustration, unnecessary conflict, and all the blah blah blah, you know, behind your back. But my understanding is starting by yourself, and then you'll be working with any person in the group according to the profile, and according how you impact them, because they will impact you as well, but also how you impact them.
Wonderful, thank you for all of that wisdom. I would like to talk now about partnerships. What approach do you have when you're like wanting to work with another institution, work with a corporation? Do you decide based on their values? How do you work with partners, and how do you create strong partnerships that will allow you to improve on your mission and your social impact?
Yeah. Of course, values for me is really important, because I'm working a very complex topic, and I'm always jokes with my student that palliative care is not a very sexy specialty, because when you go to the hospital, you see the parking lot for the surgeon is in front of the emergency room department, and mostly the parking for the palliative care physician is just behind the hospital near the garbage sometimes. So I'm joking about that. So it's a really very complex topic, and a very complex. So when I'm creating partnership, it's mostly focused on values, because that is something really important, because I'm working with people, human beings, and the human being need to be impacted by values, by the sense of humanity, and also dignity, and this is really important. And if some of the values may not fit according to our vision, I mean, we will try to find another partners on that sense. So it's not about just get a partnership, public or private. It's just make a partnership which worthy for the patient and the families. And if those people may understand, maybe we'll not have more all the partners we'll want, but I think we will have all partners we need. And that is the my criteria and the way we're thinking the partnership has to be.
Do you have any successful example of partnerships? I know you work with several institutions. Maybe some example that you could remember and bring up.
Yes, yeah, that's, I mean, my good examples is that we're working with the government.
Mhm.
The government of Rwanda are really pushing people to any kind of idea, any kind of innovation. If your idea and partners is not on the sense of equity, so the government will not buy in your project or your innovation. So if people in the capital, Kigali, for example, have access to palliative care and someone who is living on the corner of the country in the west or north or south or of east and couldn't get the same services as the people in the capital, the government will not buy in your project. And that's why we have a MOU with Rwanda Biomedical Center to support the government Ministry of Health on implementing palliative care using the model of I think I shared to you and the model which is I think Ashoka was really happy to learn and also find it really more comprehensive, equitable, and also a model with more dignity, social culture perspectives. And we're using now that model. And until now, we almost cover 10 million people. And we train 15 districts, and part of the district who have so many district hospitals, health centers, and also with non-medical professionals, what we call community health workers, and we're using that model. So for us, it's one of the strong partners, the partnership with the Ministry of Health, because that is the value of the Ministry of Health. It's no one left behind. No one left behind. Everyone has to get on the same access. You can be in the capital in urban area, you can be in a rural area, is the same access to the services. And for us, it's one of the best partnership we have, and we can provide feedback from the government, and the government also support us on the make it access possible and say if this kind of project we can be buying on the social culture perspective of the patient, and this is something we can really support. So that is for me the best example.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's incredible that you are working with, you said 1 million people.
Yeah, almost 10 million people. Yeah, we cover now almost 10 million, but our target is to cover the whole country, and this is why I'm working with my team to continue to fundraise and get financial and other resources to be able to cover the whole country. Yeah, so we hope we will achieve that because so we came from so far until now.
Yeah. And that will require other types of partnerships too, I imagine. Um,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But the good thing is, it's not only for us, it's a whole for all the partners we have in Rwanda, to have the same vision, that no one left behind, and we need to engage and get the community, that sense. So the sense of equity, dignity, and humanity. So we will develop different partnership as well, and I'm sure that is most of the partners also need also to focus on those clear values.
Wonderful. And sharing the vision too, as you were saying, sharing the same vision and with those values that are aligned with the work that you're doing. Wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the time is flying by, and I feel like we haven't been able to cover. There's so many more questions, but I do want to ask you at least two more questions that we tend to ask at the end of the interview. And it's Alice Yokabi, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, is asking what
Yeah.
keeps you motivated to do the work that you do?
I think it's story of the young guy I shared in the beginning. Since I promised myself that no one will die on the same way that young guy died. So that story is still my motivation to work and work and work again, and make sure that every patient I'll meet and every family members will get the same resources to have a quality of life until the end and sense of dignity, humanity, and Ubuntu.
Wonderful. And Mine Sukase from Ethiopia is asking, what parting advice would you have to young people who want to create change in the healthcare systems like you did? We have some
Oh,
participating in the course. Yeah.
yes. I think for the young people, the first thing I did myself, first it was to be, I'm lecturing now at the University of Rwanda, and what I'm teaching now young people is focus also. I know to be a physician is quite difficult. It's a difficult task and job, but don't forget to have also some criteria which I think are most important. One, it's compassion. Second, it's empathy. And the third, because she or he from Ethiopia, is also to have a sense of Ubuntu philosophy. I think I am because you are, and that is really important. Despite all the skills you have, those skills to be a good doctor, skills and knowledge, but for me, compassion, empathy, and Ubuntu is one of the best. I mean, the way young people may try to avoid the same mistake, the mistake we did, and also create a very innovative and comprehensive idea which will change not only your village, but also the community as well,
And your whole country, as you're doing right
and
now,
the whole country.
and the
Yes.
world. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much, Christian. It's been a real pleasure to have met you and to learn a little bit more about the work, that incredible work that you're doing in end of life care. I would love to see your organization like expanding to even other continents,
Yeah.
somehow
That's our plan.
adapting to their own cultural heritage. Sorry, adopting their own cultural heritage and then
Yes,
adapting it to the medical
exactly.
yes world. I
Yeah,
think I mentioned to you that I'm from Peru, so I'm from South America, and we also have our own cultural heritage that I think we should totally be adopted so that it can be adapted to the medical, the new science and technology that we have now. Thank
exactly. Because because my statement is the way a patient dies can reflect how the society lives.
Absolutely. And in that sense, we mentioned that too, that the Western world is living an epidemic of loneliness. And, um,
Yes.
and that's what's happening right now. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We really need to end up this conversation. It's been a real pleasure to have you
Thank you, Natalie.
and everybody that is watching us live too. Thank you so much for taking the time. I would like to remind you, if you're watching live, to click yes to the survey so that you can receive your extra points. And remind you also that next week we're going to have module 4 and we're going to start having some assignments, which is like a really interesting part of the course. And we will see you live on November 12th with our guest expert Dr. Muth, for the 4th live webinar. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a great week ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.